What's going on, everybody? It is March 30th, 2020. This is your Don Tony and Kevin Castle show latest episode. I am Don Tony. He is
Kev Castle. What's up, DT?
Welcome to the new norm for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, exactly.
You take away that one tag team match tonight, we had a total of 2.5 minutes of wrestling. Live wrestling. Well, not live, but Orlando, Florida wrestling. Friday, Mish and I, we did that charity show. We were talking about, Roman Reigns pulling himself off of WrestleMania. We actually got a 3-minute partial clip of what Roman Reigns actually said today, which is very interesting. But another thing that's very interesting is that Daniel Bryan, there was a lot of reports that after WrestleMania is over, he's going to self-quarantine himself for 14 days before he goes home to his wife and his kid.
Wow.
And it got me thinking a little bit that if he quarantines himself right after WrestleMania, what happens if he wrestles again on Smackdown in Orlando?
Right.
You see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going.
It almost feels like, Roman Reigns is going to be out for the foreseeable future. Daniel Bryan quarantining himself makes no sense if he's going to wrestle in Orlando in the next week or two for SmackDown. Then you take away other wrestlers who do not want to travel right now because, if people follow our show about 3 or 4 weeks ago, we told everybody that wrestling in Orlando was optional because of what's going on. Obviously, as time goes by and the reality starts to sink in and you start to see thousands of people dying in the United States, it scares some people even further. But, my question to you is, do you think anytime in the next couple of weeks, because look, next week, the week after, they can get away with Raw and SmackDown with airing a lot of WrestleMania repeat. You have a couple of wrestlers in Florida anyway. NXT, they're going to do the takeover on their USA Network for the next couple of weeks. But 2-3 weeks from now, do you think any remote possibility that WWE and possibly AEW just stop doing shows for a little while?
Well, it's funny you say that because I was thinking that today. My thought process is now with getting word here for my own industry that everything is indefinitely shut down till at least April 30th. Possibility of starting up in May, limited capacity, rules and restrictions, but we can maybe go back to work, maybe. That's for clubs, bars, restaurants, whatever. That's nothing set in stone, but that's the word. And I was thinking, why don't they just shut wrestling down after this for a couple of weeks, rest of April. April's a wash for everybody. We might as well all suffer. But wrestling should be no different than anything else. It's weird to me that I say to myself, why is wrestling going by these different rules for themselves? And everyone's like, well, Vince, it's Vince, And yeah, it starts and ends with Vince, but there's got to be somebody who can talk some sense into him, whether it's his daughter, Triple H. I mean, just shut it down. Right after WrestleMania, I think there should just be a shutdown of wrestling. AEW, too. Take a break for a few weeks. They're talking about social distancing nationwide through April 30th anyway. And I don't understand why wrestling is going by this. Like, it's almost like they're not part of this. They're part of it, but not really. They have different rules for wrestlers. And I just shut it down for a few weeks. Quell the paranoia that might be there amongst some of the wrestlers. It's going to really cause dissension amongst the roster, losing top stars, other people. It's going to be a domino effect, ET. And when it's all said and done, a handful of people will be good, loyal soldiers to Vince or whatever, and they'll get the push when this is all said and done. It's just so stupid. Just shut it down. And I'm looking forward, not looking forward to in a happy way, hearing the Roman Reigns clip because I heard he sounded pretty pissed. Did he?
Well, I'm going to play 3 minutes of it. I don't want to play the whole thing, but it's funny. It was either 2 or 3 weeks ago that I said that wrestling, for some reason, if you look at, and a lot of people remember the clip, I'm not going to paint anybody by replaying it, but I might pain people Wednesday when I talk about the AEW title, the secondary title that was created. We'll talk about that Wednesday. But, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying that pro wrestling is trying to be the world's emotional Band-Aid. And a lot of people may have heard me say this 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, last week, Friday, and I'll say it again. There are a lot of baseball, basketball players, entertainers that want to go out and entertain for everyone. And unfortunately, they are stuck in their houses. Now, over the weekend, we got a little bit creative with a little concert that they did for charity, and everybody was in their home. Pro wrestling obviously cannot do that. But, 2-3 weeks ago when I said that, WWE thinks that they're bigger than, the rest of the world because they're not essential employees. Or for us wrestling fans, we may look at it like that, but they're not. They're still human beings, and they're still, they still bleed the same color we do, and they still could catch the same illnesses that we do. Now, 2-3 weeks later, now everybody seems to be like, oh, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. I don't know what's going to happen. None of us know what's going to happen. But I think the only way pro wrestling goes on hiatus for an extended period of time is if the government forces them to. And I don't mean Trump. I don't mean federal. I mean states. DeSantis had this rule. It really wasn't a rule. It was guidance. No more than 10 people. You could watch that tag match today. You had 6 people wrestling, 1 referee, 2 announcers, 3 cameramen. There's over 10 right there. Right. So, and Triple H even did an interview with, I don't know if it was Sports Illustrated. I don't remember who it was. He did an interview yesterday, and he was talking about, how they really don't want to have they don't want to put restrictions and this and that, but really dodging the bullet as far as why are they still competing. Again, when you hear Triple H, when you hear Stephanie, you hear the main roster, you hear Hall of Famers, indie wrestlers, WWE, AEW, indie circuit, NWA, NXT, however you want to use. And they all say, we're going out and we want to get everybody's mind off of pro wrestling, off of the world's problems right now. We just want to give you some entertainment. And although that is so noteworthy and good, and I really believe 1,000% sincere, it is good-natured by all of them.
Right.
But again, you have musicians, baseball players. I said this on Friday. Look at a baseball team. Look when they're positioned in the infield and the outfield. That's pretty much more than 6 feet apart with the social distancing. So you can have a pickup game in a park somewhere and record it and stream it for everybody. You don't see anybody doing that. Now, yes, with that Major League Baseball contracts and stuff, they're not going to take any chance. My point is, there are tens of thousands of entertainers out there that want to go ahead and do what they do best. But unfortunately, because of what's going on, and again, I said this 3 weeks ago, I got ripped apart. I'll say it again. I don't give a shit. I'm a pro wrestling fan for life. I'm a lifer. Been such a kid, will be till the day I die. But pro wrestling is not bigger than the world. They're not bigger than us. When you see all of you home that are forced to stay home right now, even if you had a 1 or a 2 person office, I'm not around anybody. Why can't I go to my office? I'll wear a mask. I'll wear gloves. I'm not around anybody. Why do I have to lose income? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? There are tons of people that can work right now and be away from the risk. They're forced to stay home. But pro wrestling, oh no. No. What was that cartoon? No. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know.
I don't remember. Anybody remember who that cartoon? No. I mean, come on, man. And I said this Friday. I said it on Wednesday, and I'll say it again now because more people will hear it, just that don't tune into the other shows. Take note of one very big thing about WWE. WWE does things about don't be a bully, be a star. They do things about Connor's cure, breast cancer, PSAs, get tested. Where are all the public service announcements for WWE? Where are all of these clips on TV? Stay at home. Everybody stay at home. Where are they? Where are all these public not a wrestler taking their iPhone and going on their own on social media and saying something. Where is WWE doing I thought somebody had the name of the
it's
the
a
Buzz Buzzard. Is it Buzz Buzzard?
No, it's Beaky Buzzard. It's a different
Beaky
Buzzard.
Buzzard. All right,
yeah, it's a buzzard. Yeah.
All right, maybe Beaky Buzzard, but still, I mean, take note that WWE is not doing any public service. These are role models for kids. I swear on Jesus Christ, every time I come home from work, because I'm still working full time, every time I come home from work and I go down my block, there are kids all over the place riding their bikes, hanging outside. Their parents are standing on the side and they're talking this and that. And, I don't want to disrespect my neighbors, so I don't videotape it. But the point is that, all these kids are all outside and playing and this and that, like nothing is wrong because they're all home from school. Where are all these role models telling these kids stay in the doors, telling the teenagers, telling the adults? Where are the public service announcements?
Yeah, you don't see any. I'm surprised that they don't even have wash your hands and hygiene or whatever, but they haven't really had any. And I'm very surprised because everyone from Toyota
had that
every insurance company, every Burger King, every company DT has updated their commercials to include Domino's, Pizza Hut. What's going on with America right now? But why is wrestling not done that? They're in their own world.
They had the Braun Strowman wash these hands. That could be in any fucking restaurant bathroom 24/7, 365. We don't need a coronavirus for that. Yeah, you wash your hands. That should be, when I was brought up as a baby, wash your hands. Yeah, I wash my hands. But, you would think that they would have little, like you said, and I brought this up before. Mish is saying it right now as well. They won't even say the words coronavirus. They'll tease like a little, forearm bump and stuff like that. They're fucking afraid to confront the enemy. I mean, it's not a pro wrestling promotion. It's a fucking virus, and they are afraid to even address that. Boggles my mind.
Yeah, and I don't know why they'd be afraid, because you got to figure it's a conversation that every household is having now with kids of all ages. Everyone's talking about it. It's not a bad thing to say. What do they think? Children are gonna go up to them and go, yeah, Ma, I heard on wrestling, what's coronavirus? Come on, how ridiculous is that? Everyone's talking about it. Everybody knows about it. I don't know anybody who's hidden from it. There's kids here in my house who are 7 and 10. My landlord's kids, they know all about it, social distancing and stuff. I was talking to my landlord earlier. Kids are totally practicing the whole thing. The schools told them that before they let out. So WWE, again, DT, continues to be in there. And I've got to say, I don't know if it's wrestling. Let's say WWE right now, not throw AEW into this mix, unless they act as ignorant as they do upcoming. But of not acknowledging the giant, monstrous elephant in the room of why this is even happening, with why WrestleMania is what it is is because of this coronavirus. Why not address it, and people will be more understanding of it instead of this hidden bullshit. I don't get it. And I find it irritating. It really irritates me about wrestling. And I don't know what side of history wrestling is going to be looked at when this is all said and done. Vince or whatever, being totally ignorant to this. It was cool. They went on with the show. They taped it or whatever. Will we see some guys even back in the company? Will Roman Reigns even come back? And you could say, oh, I don't care if he comes back. Well, you should, because a lot of people could follow him out the door. I don't know what's going to happen post WrestleMania with a lot of these guys. Daniel Bryan, will these guys even come back? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's going to be very interesting next couple of weeks.
Well, speaking of Roman Reigns, this is something that I think people seem to forget. When did Roman Reigns actually get leukemia?
The first time when he was a kid, when he was a teenager.
All right.
Yeah.
He's had leukemia his whole life. Well, for a majority of his life.
Two battles in a 20-year period.
Would you say last year flu in the United States killed 35,000 people? Would you say flu would be pretty damn serious for Roman Reigns since he had leukemia before?
Of course.
Okay. Obviously, coronavirus is, tenfold much more serious than flu. But the point I'm getting at is that Roman Reigns, with his previous leukemia, there are a lot of health risks that go on every year that this man performs at risk. When everybody jumped the gun and immediately said, oh, it's the leukemia and this, that, well, remember, he had the confrontation with Goldberg in Orlando in the midst of coronavirus. And when he pulled out of WrestleMania, I just sat back and I just took in social media's reaction to it. And not everybody is a Roman Reigns hater. But, we heard about Reigns rumored to be off Mania, taking himself off. Then we heard about Miz. And I wrote something on Twitter, and I wrote, Bizarro World, seeing so many haters of the Miz and Roman Reigns outraged that they're not going to be at WrestleMania. I mean, just Bizarro World. People that can't stand the Miz and can't stand Roman Reigns are outraged that they're not performing. Doesn't make any sense. And I also said that family, especially with children, is more important than taking unnecessary health risks right now. Now, when I guarantee you, if the flu bug bit the WWE roster last year, Roman Reigns probably would have went home for a week or two to play it safe. Okay? Thank God we haven't had any big, because it happens sometimes, the baseball teams where, the flu bug goes around to the team.
Right.
So, but I know Roman Reigns has children and he's got a family, and you see other wrestlers who have decided, I'm not taking the chance of getting sick. Right. So I feel, and I said this last week, when it comes to Miz, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, see a little pattern there? Children. There's children involved. And they have a whole family to take care of. They can't be fucking selfish and just perform simply to perform. They have other people to think about. So anyway, in comes Roman Reigns today.
I just think with all this downtime,
and
just be better, man.
You know what? Let me put it over here. Hang on a second. I'm gonna play the Roman Reigns clip. You could hear it too. So this way everybody could hear what he said. So you still with me, Kev?
I'm here.
Okay, let me play the Roman Reigns clip.
With all this downtime, just be better, man. Take the time to think about how you want to be treated, how you would like a stranger to talk to you. For instance, for me, you already know what's going on. It's all over the news, the dirt sheets, whatever you want to call them, that I pulled out of WrestleMania. And it's funny because, for years now, man, years, people are like, don't show up to WrestleMania. We don't want you in it. You know what I mean? There's a nice handful of dudes and haters that didn't want me there. But the moment I make a choice for me and my family, I'm a coward, I'm a sissy, a lot of different things that I am now. But you don't know the whole story. All you know is what you think. Oh, well, his health and this and that, but you don't know what else is going on in my life.
Bingo.
You don't know if I have newborns. You don't know if
Bingo.
I have family in my household, older family. So yeah, I mean, just like the old saying, man, go and flip that cover open and read a few pages. Get into a few chapters before you really start running your mouth.
I think he couldn't have said it any better. Everybody immediately ran to the one thing, the leukemia, and didn't think about older people, family, children. What's your thoughts about that?
I think he's. This is why I actually like Roman Reigns. I think he's a pretty real guy. Whether the leukemia was a good enough excuse to bow out, there's multiple reasons to bow out. This thing shouldn't even be happening in the first place. I mean, anybody who called him a coward and a sissy, please. You know, I like to see what those people look like on the end of the computer who call them that. Ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. And again, I think, you know, he was one of the focal points of this WrestleMania. Perhaps there was pressure on him from Vince, from the powers that be over there, saying, listen, you know, you don't win the title. You know, this is one of the feature matches here. And he's probably like, that doesn't, you know, this is more important. This situation with my family is much more important. And I think he's, you know, probably much more majority respected for what he did, other than a few assholes who would call him names behind anonymous fucking posts. I think he's probably going to get a lot of respect. Like I said, he'll be on the right end of history when this is all said and done. In a few weeks, anybody who said that will feel pretty horrible about saying something like that, especially if someone from WWE gets coronavirus and gets brutally sick. And I think, you know, Miz showing up sick, I think the Usos were upset because they were in the ring with a guy who was possibly sick. They don't know if he has it, and then they go home, spread it to their family. Everyone's nervous, DT. Like you said, they're human beings. They're not immune to this. They can give it to someone, one of their older family members. Roman Reigns' father's a senior citizen office, 70 years old now, who he sees all the time because he lives right near him. So again, he's probably thinking there's so much multiple reasoning that goes into this that I wouldn't dare criticize anybody about making a move like that at this point. I think it's ridiculous. And I think it's ridiculous that he even had to address the idiots who said stuff like that. It's ridiculous.
Here's the last 2 minutes of what he had to say.
And just take this time to better yourself, be present, and make the most out of this. Because if we can't grow in a time like this, I don't think we have a chance, man. This is the most downtime I've ever seen in my life. So I just challenge everybody, and I'm taking the steps right there with you. I'm not perfect. I'm a hater too sometimes, you know what I mean? But I try to always put it in perspective of why I want something or why I might be jealous of something, and then I put it in my grind. I put it to work. I figure out how I can get whatever I need or I want, and I put it to work, and I don't focus on others hating on me, and I don't put focus on driving negativity to anybody else. So, man, if we can, let's not just do it in the real world, let's do it on here. And it's easy, man. All it takes is starting right now. So just be kind to others, man. Let's try to better each other. And hopefully we're going to come out with so many better habits, but it can't just be about cleanliness. We got to be clean inside too. So let's clean up this outside. Let's clean up our hygiene habits, but let's also clean up the inside and make each other better, man. We all got to be accountable towards each other. There's people across the world that I have no, you know what I mean? And what I do affects them. So take some pride in that. Love each other, respect each other. And hopefully we're going to come out way better, man. For all my fans, you know, I'm sorry I didn't get to compete this year and put on a show and entertain. But sometimes things are more important, and I had to make a choice for me and my family. But no matter what, you already know the deal, man. I showed I made the town, you know what I mean? I made it to Orlando, and I had to make a decision for me. But it doesn't take anything away from what I've done and what I'm going to do. I still love this game. I still love pro wrestling, sports entertainment. I love being in the ring. It's a little weird being in the ring with nobody watching, nobody in the arena. But man, I'm ready to get back to work, and I'm just taking these times, this little bit of time we have, to build up the outside and come as close as possible to perfecting the inside, man. So everybody, I love y'all. Thank you for the support. Hopefully we can just continue to get better, man.
Look, I have voiced out many times in the past, I am not a big fan of Roman Reigns in the ring. Those multiple years where WWE insisted that he was the guy, for the most part, I just didn't like it. there's a lot of Roman Reigns that, ever since the illness, you got to see a more private side of Roman Reigns, because I used to make this remark many times over the years. I said, take note, everybody, Roman Reigns doesn't socialize with anybody on social media. One post here, one post there, and then like 2 years ago or so, maybe 3 at tops, then all of a sudden you started to see, a little bit more of the social media, the social footprint from him. He was always a very, very private person. And, you have to admire the person. I will never insist that somebody get a title, or I'm not going to suddenly become a huge fan of someone simply because they're a good person outside the ring. Everybody should be good people outside the ring. But you can't help but to have a little bit of respect for this guy for, standing up to his decision. I'm sure it was a really, really tough one. As much as Vince and everybody else will say, we respect it. You see what happens when some people decline Saudi Arabia and then suddenly their opportunity seems to be conveniently taken away. Don't want to name any specific names. We've talked about it before. But I got to hand it to Roman Reigns, family first. Children, elderly. If you're a single guy, maybe even with a girlfriend, all right, the risk for younger people is a lot lower. You might get the illness, but it's a very tiny percentage of anybody that has it very seriously. But someone, like I said, Miz, again, so I saw some people in the chat saying that, Miz was sick. Nobody's saying Miz was sick. Nobody's saying Roman Reigns was sick with this virus. I even said last week a couple of times, I think it's very disrespectful for anybody out there to say that Dana Brooke had it or Rey Mysterio had it or anyone else. If they have not gone public and said it, or if WWE hasn't said it, you can't immediately think that somebody is off WrestleMania because they have the virus. There are people that are afraid, that don't want to be around other people, that don't want to take the chance of getting sick. So, but again, if you look at the pattern again, Miz, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, that's family with children and some elderly as well. And they don't want to take the chance of getting sick, coming home and bringing that illness home.
Yeah, again, there's a lot more that goes with this than people think, and people can make their own decisions. And who gives a shit if a wrestling fan doesn't like you or doesn't respect you? It's almost like someone says, "I don't like you," and it's like, "Good, I don't like you either." I mean, I think it's always funny when people think that they're so important of what their opinion is on someone that they don't even know. It's just nonsense, complete nonsense. The important thing is what's best for that person as a real life individual, with his family, friends. Everyone's nervous about this. I don't want to hear anybody say, "Oh, I'm not really sweating it." Sure you are, because it's going to affect you sooner or later. Even if you don't get the illness, it's going to affect you fiscally. It's going to affect you in some way, shape, or form. You are not immune to what's going on. And if you are, please show me. Let me know how you're immune to this whole thing. And if you are, God bless. You're one of the 5%. Because I don't know anybody who's immune to this. Like I said, whether it's physically or fiscally, this is affecting everybody I know. And if you're someone who can make the decisions like that and have financial security and do what's best for your family, God bless you. In a good position to do that. I'm not going to begrudge anybody for doing this. I still think this WrestleMania should have never happened. We'll watch it or whatever. It's in the can. It's taped already and everything. But I still am in belief that they should shut this down for the rest of the month like everybody else has to. Yeah. Wrestling's not special.
Yeah. Couple of things. A little bit later, I'm going to read and show everyone what is advertised for later on this week, not just with WrestleMania, but other shows that WWE is going to be having on the network. It's a lot. So I think everybody will appreciate that. We're going to talk about Raw for a little bit now. WrestleMania, as far as predictions, going to be late this week because, they haven't played off on TV yet as far as what is going down with some of the other matches. I mean, some of it is pretty much been leaked out already as far as Goldberg's, opponent. Everybody's saying that it's going to be Braun Strowman. Don't know how I feel about that. My immediate reaction was WWE's obsessed with having a spear overtake Goldberg. Goldberg does the spear, Roman Reigns does the spear, Braun Strowman, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like they want to have like a move that Goldberg does to be his demise. That's what it feels like to me. But we don't even know what's going to happen with the SmackDown tag titles yet. So we'll, towards the end of the week, I'm sure everybody, even on Twitter, is going to be posting their predictions. As far as Patreon goes, I haven't decided yet as far as how to do this contest, because if spoilers start leaking out, it's going to be very, very difficult, because I know it's going to happen. People are going to try to wait till the last second for a spoiler to come out before they put their entry in. And I will tell everybody on Patreon right now, we are going to do something with this contest. But I will tell everybody that the contest thread will not be posted until Friday night after SmackDown, and you only have about 12 hours to put your entry in, because Saturday at 6 o'clock Eastern is the pre-show, and it starts at 7. So from like 11 p.m. on Friday night to about 2 p.m. on Saturday afternoon, you shouldn't need more than 12 hours to put entry in. But if spoilers start leaking out about some of these matches, then those matches will not count in the predictions contest. So I haven't decided yet. I was even thinking of doing something a little bit wacky. Instead of the outcomes, maybe you predict, which match, is the longest, what's the tie. There's a couple of creative ways to do it, but as the week goes on, we'll figure that out. So, but, I'll tell you this much. I said something on Friday about WrestleMania. We'll talk about Raw first, and then I'll bring up something I said Friday that people think I'm just mad and crazy for saying it. And I don't mean mad as in angry. I mean mad as in nuts.
You're a madman. You're a madman.
No, well, and I'll say it now. I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this because 2020, although coronavirus is here, 2020 has not been a bad year for yours truly. Even March was not all that bad. It's fucked. There's a lot fucked up. Don't get me wrong, and even here, but I honestly think WrestleMania is going to be 10 times better than we all think it's going to be. I really do. And I'm not just...
we're going in with low expectations. Don't you think that's the whole thing, too?
Yeah, but, look, I try to look at the high end of, for example, when they had the Broken Hardys come into WWE and they were doing a little bit of stuff. And then they did that spoof. I don't even think the Hardys were in yet. It was the Wyatts versus the New Day, and they did the reason why I'm bringing this up is because some of that was actually pretty good, and some of it was average and a little corny. But WWE, when you think of, and this is something I said a week ago, I said that they have to have quite a few quote unquote gimmick matches, like street fights. And you think of AJ Styles and Undertaker, and I'm sorry for those who tuned in Friday, that sounds like a broken record, but you think of that match. You think of Cena and Bray Wyatt Funhouse match, Firefly Funhouse match. You think of Edge and Randy Orton having just a flat-out brawl. You even want to bring up Gargano Ciampa. Empty building, just a ring and a referee, whoever, So when you think of all of that, and it's all pre-taped on top of it, that has the capability of really turning out something tremendous. And the reason why I say that is because you record something a week and a half early. We'll use Undertaker AJ Styles.
Right.
After, or even halfway through the match. And I know some people will not like what I'm about to say, but at the end of the day, pro wrestling is entertainment. Doesn't matter if it's Ring of Honor or New Japan or MLW or AEW. If it's a predetermined finish, it's entertainment. But the thing is that halfway through the match, if something is botched, cut, stop the recording, pick up the match where it left off, splice, edit, cut. After they do a spot, oh shit, what if we did this? Oh man, all right. So they can add, splice. I already am predicting now. They're going to do, and I brought this up Friday, they're going to do like what they did with Jeff Hardy with the final deletion. When Jeff Hardy fell into the water and then all of a sudden he can't, he was Willow. So you know they're going to do splice, cut, stop, record. Bray Wyatt's going to come out as the Fiend. He's going to be not the Fiend. You're going to see a lot of creative editing. And I know because we're wrestling fans, we prefer to see a match genuine, raw, live from beginning to end without anything manipulating it. You know, we hate it when crowd noise gets piped in later on or camera work gets shifted. But in a case like this, it's with all of this stuff being done beforehand and being done in the environments that they're in, you know, they can record and edit and add this and take this out and make Undertaker look like $1 trillion in his match. I truthfully believe some of the matches are going to be 1-2 minutes, boom, done. Bullshit.
Think so?
Yeah. But I think there are at least 4 or 5 matches that I feel WWE, they know the negativity that's out there. They know the pressure that they're in. Everybody that's performing is going to want to shut everybody up and show everybody that, yeah, we could still fucking knock it out of the park. I think there's going to be 4 or 5 matches that we're going to look back on it and say, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah. Could be.
I don't know if you agree. I mean, I respect
No. It could be. I mean, you're right. Again, I have that side of me, like I said, the human side that doesn't want to see this even happen because I just feel that they can do this another day, live another day down the road, do it right with the fans because that's what it's really all about. But then I can look at it from another way of watching literally like a good soap opera. I told this story a couple of weeks ago, like when I was a kid and watched my mom watch The Young and the Restless and she gets so into it and I would be like, but there's no, you know, you're just watching people act and there's no noise, no crowd or anything. There's no piped in responses, but you can get into stuff like that with these cliffhangers and these kind of sequences where you can kind of get invested, but we're not accustomed to that. Like you always call wrestling a male soap opera, but the difference is a live audience. There's no live audiences in soap operas. But that's the way we're going to have to play it this Sunday, watching it like that kind of thing. Or like a movie, like literally watching a movie in a scene where 2 people are killing each other, like Undertaker and AJ, and they do something like, you know, over the top, and it's not stuntmen, it's them doing it. So it could end up being, DT, right, it could end up being pretty impressive. Consider all things considered, it could be a big thumbs up. I mean, I hope it is. I mean, Saturday and Sunday, Mitch said it before here in the chat. Looking forward to getting, 2 days of it, taking our minds off it, something to do, something to cover, especially as a podcaster, which will do the post show on both nights that we normally do. So you're right. Maybe it is something to look forward to. I just wish they could do it the other way. I'm sure all of us feel that way with the crowd, with the reactions. But I'll take what I can get, I guess, at this point. I'll be more than fair. If it's good, I'll be the first to prop it.
I agree with you, Joe Punches. He is hoping to a great Mania weekend, really, because we're all wrestling fans at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Everybody tune in, we're all fans. So we shouldn't want it to fail. I mean, it's stupid.
No one wants it to fail. No one wants it to fail.
I am more curious 2-3 weeks from now. That's what I'm curious about. Because, like I said, you're definitely going to get Mania replays filling up the Raw and SmackDowns heavily. I wouldn't be surprised if 90% of the show is replay of matches with some added promos. Now, Undertaker, all right? We had Raw open up tonight with a promo from Undertaker. Dressed a little bit American Badass, kind of a little bit of that retro. I was thinking earlier that be interesting if Undertaker, they have numerous variations of Undertaker in that match. Maybe, you know, Dead Man, maybe American Badass, maybe we have a couple of different. I don't think that's good. I think it's better with Magic and Bray Wyatt. Like you know what I mean? Like, I think it might come off goofy to have Undertaker be badass and then be Dead Man, but he cut a promo today, you know, brought up AJ Styles' real name, Alan James, and you know, he just it was a really intense promo. You know, it was interesting because he was talking about how AJ Styles, you know, that Undertaker brought up all these Hall of Famers. I don't remember, but I could have sworn that Undertaker did not bring up Hulk Hogan's name, but he brought up a ton of other names. Booker T, Steve Austin, Cena, a whole bunch of.
I don't think he said Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't remember Hogan, but you could be right. Maybe one of the first ones was Hogan. But he said that, you know, big mouth for such a small guy, and that AJ Styles waited for all of these guys to leave to come in. Now, you know, some of Undertaker's promo was inaccurate because AJ Styles and Cena had a nice, great feud for a while. AJ Styles actually got the victory quite a few times. But Undertaker, you know, basically calling out AJ Styles, and, you know, he even called Gallows and Anderson ass clowns. And, you know, the whole premise of Undertaker's promo tonight was, you ain't going to piss me off. You want to go there with me saying that, you know, I have less matches ahead of me than what I had, behind me, and, you know, this and that. Like, that's fine. But when you bring her up, that's where you cross the line. So it felt like a lot of Undertaker's anger tonight, storyline-wise, was the fact that AJ Styles brought up Michelle McCool.
It reminds me of when DDP brought up Undertaker's old wife. Remember that angle?
Sarah, yeah.
Wife? Sarah. She had tattooed on his front of his neck for the longest time. But I thought it was a good promo. They reminded me of, it was definitely American Badass, Big Evil style. I'm sure he'll come out like that. I don't think he's going to do any kind of dead man thing. I think it's just going to be Mark Calloway. First, what is it, Alan Jones? Is that his real name?
Alan Jones. What did I say before? Yeah. Alan James?
I think so.
Alan Jones.
Alan Jones.
It just sounds like a better name, Alan Jones.
But,
Alan Jones sounds like a televangelist name.
It does. And so I'm looking, again, that could end up being very good. And those two, they're more consummate professionals than AJ Styles and Undertaker, who, you know, don't have a big history of working together. It's a little bit of an odd coupling when you think about it, but if anybody could pull it off, it's definitely AJ Styles and Undertaker. So I'm sure they wouldn't do this if they didn't think they can make it decent. So, I think that's one of the matches I am looking forward to the most, is this particular matchup.
You think Michelle McCool has to hit the faith maker on AJ Styles during this?
I think she's going to get involved.
She's got to come out.
Yeah, she's getting involved.
And if you notice, none against Michelle McCool, but the couple of times that she came back very recently when they had the women's battle royal and this other stuff, like, she got like a nice pop, but I think that she probably thought she was going to get a much bigger pop than she got. And that's not her fault. I mean, we've talked about it in the past. WWE, unfortunately, really forgot about a lot of women over the years. Never reminded the younger fans of some of the women from yesteryear, other than maybe Trish and Lita or Mae Young. You know, but even like Molly Holly and Michelle McCool and Layla and some others.
Ivory.
Yeah, Ivory. Like, you never see, I mean, very, very rare WWE ever. I mean, on the male side, I've been talking about this for a decade. I mean, I don't know what Magnificent Morocco has done in a bad way to WWE. But they just, even when they talk about IC champs from yesteryear, like, he's just like an afterthought. I mean, they have just...
He's one of the best.
Yeah. I mean, he's my favorite IC champ of all time. Not even close.
He's great. I know you were a big fan of him, and so was I. And if he was one of the first heels before Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig really became that guy, or Rick Rude, that was like a cool heel. Morocco was before even Rude and Perfect, even Flair.
Yeah.
I mean, Morocco in 81, I mean, I like Pedro Morales, but I remember me and Draper sometimes found ourselves cheering for Morocco over Pedro Morales, which didn't go over very well at Madison Square Garden, by the way.
Yeah. I wish I could say that, and looking back on it, I probably could have lied, but I wish I could say that, calling myself Don Tony, like I took the Don as a tribute to Don Morocco, but that's not true. Yeah. That's not true.
Yeah, never thought of that. You could work.
Yeah, no, I thought about that at the time, and I'm like, hey, I could just say it was a tribute to Don Morocco, but that's not the way it went down. We'll tell that story another time for people that don't know it. But I love Undertaker's promo today. Very protective of his wife. Now, me, if I was a sinister bitch, I would have some tigers attack Gallows and Anderson. Those tigers that they made fun of. And please, everyone. You can if you want, Kev, but I have no interest in talking about Tiger King, all this Tiger King shit. I could give a flood. There's so much shit.
Haven't seen it, dude. They're tagging me on the same thing. I have not seen it yet. My
seriously,
brothers have seen it. I haven't seen it yet.
With all the shit going on in this world, I know a lot of people have a lot of free time, and I totally get that, but spending it on Tiger King, I would find something else to do. Seriously, play solitaire or something. Play with yourselves, but Tiger King, nah. But the Undertaker promo, spot on today.
It was
not too many matches in the last 2 to 3 weeks. There haven't been many matches that really got me after 2-3 weeks to see, to really anticipate them more. The one match for me still is Edge Randy Orton. But I got to tell you, when we first heard the rumor of AJ Styles versus Undertaker, then they had that spot in Saudi Arabia, and, AJ Styles just looked like a bitch getting one move and losing, the whole thing with Aleister Black and Undertaker and all that. I tell you, after 2 or 3 weeks, and especially with the editing and the pre-record, I think Undertaker AJ Styles is going to be a pleasant surprise for a lot of people.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't really thought about it yet as far as who's going to take it. My immediate instinct is Undertaker's got to get his revenge, but, wouldn't surprise me if it goes the other way. But I think they have set this up as good as they possibly could. I don't think they could have done much better to have these two guys set up their match under the circumstances.
No, it's one of the, like I said, one of the matches I'm looking forward to. Now, we don't know if that's on Saturday or Sunday, do we?
I think it is Saturday. And last week I said this. A lot of people caught on to it. I don't know if it's going to be the case, but I thought, why not have Raw on Saturday, SmackDown on Sunday? Problem is, especially if Roman Reigns is not taking on Goldberg, like, what do you close out for Sunday? It's not going to be the women's match. If you think about Raw, there are 3 matches, technically, that could close out WrestleMania if it was one night. Right. And you have 3 that could close out Saturday night. I don't know if it's going to be split up. I kind of would like, for one night to be Raw and one night to be SmackDown, but I don't think we're going to get that.
Yeah, they probably should have booked it that way, but I guess it's probably just going to be a mixed bag.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Now, here's where we end up losing a ton of time today. Becky Lynch comes out, cuts a promo. I'm saying this joking around in storyline. She's an absolute moron for standing on the rampway and suspension of disbelief. We're supposed to believe that she stood on the rampway and watched her WrestleMania match for the entire 45 plus minutes. But that's how they tried to portray it on TV. Becky Lynch comes out, cuts a promo, talks about, her dominance, this and that, and then she says, let's take a look back. And she brings up the WrestleMania match from last year. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte versus Becky. Now, anybody does a quick wiki search for the match time, then you add in the commercials, you realize, okay, here's about 45 plus minutes. Yeah. You could probably do other things. And that's what it was. For the next 45 plus minutes, we got the replay of that match. So no reason to get into it again because we commented about it last year, but that ate up. First hour was already done. And then after the match was over, Becky says, "Oh, it's the first time that I've seen that match since I was in it." And she's calling out Shayna, trying to play off a little bit, like, comparing Shayna to Ronda Rousey, and, the title means everything to Becky. And then Shayna Baszler attacks her from behind, puts a submission move on her, and then swings her into the announcer's table, similar to what she did to Liv Morgan at the Elimination Chamber. Look, it looks great, especially when you have a lot of hair, because that blocks your shoulder, it's taking absorbing the impact. But I tell you, man, I said this 2 weeks ago. I really wanted to see it. Becky Lynch pulling up in that truck. That's all rap. Anybody that's ever wrapped their car, you know what I'm talking about. I don't think that's paint. I think that's rap. I can't understand why they did not have Shayna Baszler do shit to Becky Lynch's truck. I mean, it just, she choked her out, or, all right, whatever. But I don't know. It just felt like that visual of destroying her. Because I still, to this day, always remember what Kofi did to Randy Orton's card. Remember that?
Yeah, of course.
So, with the paint and everything, things like that are things you remember, especially when you're building this up. I mean, but, nice attack by Shayna Baszler. Makes a little concern now as far as who's actually going to win that match. But it worked on TV. It showed Shayna Baszler as like an animal. But again, that WrestleMania match, that match is, how long is that match? I wrote it down. That match was 22 minutes. And again, you add all the commercials and everything else, that whole Becky was about 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was at least that.
So, but what'd you think of the interaction with her and Shayna Baszler tonight?
I thought it was good. I'm kind of looking forward to that match too. I'm just wondering if the belt is actually going to change hands.
Okay. Now here's where old Don Tony comes in. We had Aleister Black come out. And again, you take away the tag match tonight, we only had 2 minutes of wrestling. Orlando wrestling. Yeah. Aleister Black comes out, beats Jason Cade in 48 seconds. Now, I find it funny that, in suspension of disbelief, you do no research on your opponent. Aleister Black is just sitting in the ring, and this fucking Matarazzi is like, what is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? I'm like, he's fucking sitting there. What are you fucking... I'm not going to say it. It's YouTube. I don't want to... But here's where old Don Tony comes in. I see Aleister Black... He's taking on Lashley at WrestleMania. So he's preparing for his match against Lashley at WrestleMania. So last week he destroys Leon Ruff. This week he destroys Jason Cade. Does anybody kind of see where I'm going with this? In preparation for Lashley, he beats Jason Cade, Leon Ruff, 2 weeks in a row. Aleister Black, preparing for Lashley. I mean, I'm just fucking around, everybody. But, I have no interest in this match. I don't know. I mean, what do you think?
No interest in it whatsoever. I like Aleister Black. I mean, he's, a character that's right up my alley. I can totally get behind it. I want to see him get the big push when this is all this craziness is over and we go back to wrestling as it's meant to be. But versus Lashley, it's just a filler match. Even though Lashley is a former world champion, he's a legitimate guy, but the way he's been portrayed over the years, Lana's guy, again, I wouldn't even be surprised if actually Aleister does the job to Lashley. Nothing would surprise me on that match either way, but that would be stupid to make him lay down for Lashley. But It's just a thrown together. It's just a random opponent. There is no history between the two of them, so it's just random. Very random.
Lashley doesn't lose any stock by losing to Aleister Black. I think Aleister Black right now, my feeling is he's got to win that match. He's got to. But I'll tell you, you look at the wrestlers who were willing to still compete. You know, look, we had that talk earlier about Daniel Bryan and Miz and Roman Reigns, and you respect their decision to stay home. You know, Dana Brooke, Carmella, you know, whoever. You know, you got to respect everybody who wants to stay home. But one of the guys that was willing to wrestle and has been there since is Ricochet. Me, I would have enjoyed even like a respect challenge. Maybe when, you know, he had no opponent to take on at Mania, that maybe Ricochet makes the friendly challenge to Aleister Black. I would have liked to have seen Aleister Black versus Ricochet at WrestleMania instead of Lashley. Just such thrown together. And the last 2 weeks, you know, they don't even have Lashley there to try to like torment Aleister Black or anything like it. Nothing. But I would have much preferred Ricochet versus Aleister Black. Much more preferred that. By the way, Joe Punches, just to go a little off topic right now, I think this week's Vice documentary is going to be focused around New Jack. Yeah, look, I've said it before. I'm not a big fan of the Vice documentaries. Not that they're bad, but and I've said this before, there's just a lot of dumb shit that Vice does outside of these wrestling documentaries. Case in point, and I remember this was like a week and a half ago, they were writing on how, you know, Amazon wouldn't let you do this or buy this or this and that. And it's on my Twitter if you want to check it out, at Don Tony D. And they were writing all this conspiracy shit. And I was like, really? And I went on Amazon and I fucking bought whatever they were claiming. It was just a really outrageous claim. And I know Mike, Your Best Bargains, was listening, and a lot of others. By the way, shout out to our associate producers and shout out to our sponsors. But, you know, they were just totally full of shit. And Vice has done this numerous times in the past. There are a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of garbage on Vice, and they do these documentaries that happen to air on Vice. But, you know, I'll have an open mind as far as the New Jack stuff. It's going to be crazy, and it might be one of the most controversial episodes you ever saw. You know, I mean, the Benoit one was very raw, and it's disturbing, but more of because of the facts and, you know, what, you know, you were certain things about the murders that maybe people avoided over the years, because a lot of what was said, you know, has been out there. But the New Jack stuff, you know, I saw tonight some Twitter bitches, you know, like fucking around with New Jack, you know, like, oh, I'll kick the shit out of you, you motherfucking this and that. Let me tell you something. Oh God, you do not ever want to cross this motherfucker. You know, that guy. Is
he still like that, though? He's kind of older now. Isn't he kind of more reserved
he can still be crazy. I mean, you know, I've told this story before. I actually, you know, helped him get bailed out of jail once. And because of that, you know, there was a couple of people under Goodman's regime that were fake posting a lot of stuff, trying to start stuff between New Jack and myself. And I always told the story also about him when I had my car accident, and, you know, that's the reason why I bailed him out years later. But the one funny thing is that even though I had some good interaction with him over the years, about 7, 8 years ago, Goodman was having an event in Florida, and I was going to manage on that show. And I don't remember who I was going to manage, but I was going to manage someone who was going to face New Jack. And somehow, and I still have the Facebook post. I got to find it, you know, and maybe I'll screenshot it and post it. But somehow it was misinterpreted. And New Jack thought, because this is when he was first retiring, and he thought that Goodman was going to book a match between him and me. And he went on my personal Facebook page when my family and everybody sees it. And he's like, I will beat the motherfucking shit. I will cut you out. I will do it. I ain't fucking working no fucking inexperienced mark. I will fucking, you think what happened? This guy just totally went off on me because he wasn't going to risk himself getting hurt, taking on someone who doesn't know how to fucking work. And I don't remember who it was. Might have even been Mish. It was like 3:30 in the morning. And he's like, dude, you see what's going on your Facebook page? And I said, no, I have no idea. I go on it and I see him threatening the shit. And I wrote back to him like, I swear to you, I'm not supposed to face you. I was going to man. Then he's like, oh, my bad.
Oh,
this guy fucking, I literally almost shit my bed. Because he flipped the fuck out because he thought that Goodman was going to put him in a match against someone who does not know what the fuck they're doing. And, you know, you think Eric Koulas, you know, you do not cross this guy's path. I've been a fan of New Jack. I've always been a fan of New Jack. I did so many podcasts with Mass Maniac. In fact, any of our patrons, if you want to do a search, if you never even knew it was there are a couple of old Mass Maniac episodes, me and the Mass Maniac with New Jack. And there's one that me and him were laughing our ass off with a lot of stuff. And I'm telling you, but that was a crazy story. And I swear to God, I had this deep, sick feeling in my stomach like this fucking guy is going to kill me. I had no intention on getting in the ring with this guy. But, you know, looking back on
some of the footage they're going to see, it's going to be very interesting to see what the feedback is on that and what a lot of podcasters have to say about that. The ones who have some balls and who will actually say, I'm not taking a shot at you, by the way, who are going to talk to, because I'm going to tell the truth about what I say, whether I have mixed feelings about some of the stuff that guy has done in the ring, stabbing that guy that time like he was doing at that independent show. That guy he kept stabbing in the side and in the back. That was like some heinous shit. Again, this is not that. The wrestling is not that. I mean, even Jim Cornette will say that. But again, because a lot of people compare him to Abdul the Butcher and guys like that. I mean, he'll even admit he wasn't much of a wrestler. He was an attraction, and he was all about the violence and stuff. And he admits he wasn't a very good wrestler, and he's not a wrestler. He was more, I don't even know if you would say he's an entertainer. I guess he's an entertainer to a degree. I mean, he's a very unique character. I'll say this. I don't think anybody, people say, oh, the Sheik, Kev, the Sheik, the old Sheik. Yeah, but New Jack, I think, is in a category of his own. Would you put New Jack in the category of the Sheik and Abdul the Butcher, DT?
No.
I mean,
because then you got to put Onita and a lot of others in there as well. Just because they used hardcore weapons and, you know, used props and sometimes real shit doesn't put them all in the same category. Abdullah the Butcher, you know, he comes off as a really fucking nice guy outside in real life, and he had his restaurant for a while. And, you know, I know Hannibal isn't like Abdullah, but, you know, I heard good things about him. Sheik, I really, outside of wrestling, didn't ever read too much negative about him. New Jack is just really controversial, but I've always been a fan. Always been a fan.
Yeah, probably the most, without a doubt, the most controversial wrestler of all time. I mean, clearly he got booked a lot, so people kind of knew what they were getting when they got him, but sometimes maybe they didn't know what they were getting. But the Eric Koulas incident is just one of many. Well, and I'm wondering what kind of foot. I saw some of the trailer. I mean, it's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be crazy, but
also I heard the guys who the guy Evan and the other guy who the producers of Darkside, Jim Cornette was talking to him about how they got New Jack to do it, and they were saying when they interviewed New Jack, he wasn't really aware of what they were actually doing. They weren't sure if he actually saw the series or stuff. He just thought it was like another shoot interview. And they explained to him that, no, this is like, you know, beyond that. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. Because they even admitted they were nervous calling him, like so nervous calling him. And he was just like, yeah, let's do it. But I think he thought at first it was just another shoot interview.
Well, let me tell you this. If anybody goes on our Patreon, patreon.com/Don Tony, and checks out the couple of Mass Maniac episodes with New Jack and myself, you listen to all of them, you will laugh your ass off. Your medulla oblongata will swell. Pleasant, funny, very raw and revealing sometimes. The guy it's not that he's just angry and evil 24/7. The guy
he's actually very funny and very charming.
Very funny.
That's the scary part about him, is that he is funny and charming, and he can have that, no pun intended, dark side, that he could flip a switch like that, because he is very funny and charming and likable to a degree. But he has, he's not mean and ornery 24/7. He doesn't come off. He actually comes off pretty cool in a lot of things. But that's the shocking part, is when you see him go off and blade that guy and stab that guy like that. You're like, what the fuck? It's gonna be one of those what the fuck things, and it's gonna be very interesting. I'm very, very interested to see the feedback from everybody on this story, because I know Dark Side of the Ring does not pull no punches. Very graphic about the Brody murder. Very graphic about the Benoit stuff. So I don't think it'll be any different with New Jack. I'm more curious about the post reaction to this than anything else.
A few people wanted to hear the story about the when I first got the call from him and the bail. I'll give you the very short version of it. I had my car accident in 1996, which I know a boatload of you are aware of already, and almost killed me. And, I was in my mid-20s at the time. And my fiance, girlfriend at the time, who was not a wrestling fan, she knew that I was training, with some friends. And, we always were fantasizing about going to House of Hardcore and this and that, but never went to the school. And she knew I was a diehard ECW fan. So when I had my car accident, and I met her, and she was trying to do stuff to cheer me up. She went into my computer and saw, the wrestling companies that I like. And the one that she saw all over the place was ECW. So she actually wrote to ECW and told them that, I was one of their biggest fans, that I went to Philly tons of times, Elks Lodge, everywhere. And I had my accident. And I was in a wheelchair and this and that. And the only thing that she forgot to put was my age. So I got this autographed photo in the mail from Rob Van Dam, and I had just gotten engaged, and he wrote all these things about he had just gotten married to Sorrel and this and that. Terry Funk, who was my favorite, sent me a branding iron and all this other stuff. I got crazy shit. But even though I was stuck in my wheelchair, I still was doing insurance work. I would just, go with crutches until I got into. So I was in my office and my phone rings and I answer the phone. And, this is 1997 now, I believe, because I had my accident in 96. She wrote to them in late 96. And I think they got back to me in early 97. So I answered the phone and I said, "Hello, can I help you?" And he says, "This is Anthony." I said, "Yeah, New Jack." I said, "New Jack?" It's like, "Yeah, I got this letter here. You had a car accident." So I started talking to him, and he's like, "You ain't no kid." He thought I was a kid. So we talked for about 5 minutes, had a good laugh. He was actually cool on the phone. And this is years before I, started doing work for Goodman or indie wrestling and stuff like that. But it was such a cool thing. And I used to talk about it on my hotline. And I used to say on my hotline at the time, I said, one day I'm going to pay him back, for doing that. It was really cool. It was funny, but it was cool. So I don't remember what year it was. It must have been like 2005 or 2006, around that time. He got arrested. And he was supposed to go to an indie show. There was a warrant out for his arrest, and he was in jail. And he didn't have any money to get himself bailed out, and nobody would bail him out. So his girlfriend at the time put an eBay auction up. And the auction was that he was in jail, and whoever won the auction, would get a phone call from New Jack, autograph this and that. And I saw the auction. I said, all right, here's my final, the way to finally pay him back for what he did for me. So it was no secret. I won the auction. I had mentioned it on my hotline. And I told his girlfriend, I said, look, I said, you tell him, that this is just thank you for what he did for me when I had my car accident. I said, I don't need any phone call, this and that. At that time, he had already worked for Goodman. So I had already met him a few times already. So I bailed him out. And that was it. And we did numerous podcasts with him over the years. And the guy was always cool. I never, wasn't a fan. Even though he scared the shit out of me on my Facebook page that time. But, I was always a fan. I mean, let me say this. The Eric Kula stuff was over the top and it was disturbing and it was sickening. But, I'm not trying to justify what happened. But if I would have actually been the one to get in that ring with him in Florida and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I deserve to get my ass destroyed.
But not stabbed.
Not stabbed, of course, not stabbed, but, vacuum cleaner to the fucking head, that'll teach you never to fucking do that again. I don't condone some of the things that he has done. Some of it is just way too outrageous over the top. It's criminal, on the verge of criminal. But I've always been a fan of his, and I probably always will be.
Well, it should be, like I said, should be a good one tomorrow. And then Dino Bravo coming up. I said everyone's looking forward to that. You got to be looking forward to that one too, DT.
Yeah.
Not even just because of the mafia connotations, but because of the whole, it really was a lot of younger fans probably don't know a lot about Dino Bravo. I think you really got to be old
I'll tell you this
school
much.
to know about Dino Bravo.
I don't want to get into it here because Mish and I talked for 30 minutes about it on Friday. Plus, Maria Manic put out her own video today. Which I haven't watched the whole thing yet, so I want to watch it, absorb it, and then I'll react to it later this week. But I tell you, without saying anything else, I think that would be an interesting Vice documentary as well. Something on Teddy Hart.
Yeah, could be.
With all the stuff. Yeah, so... By the way, if anybody wants to hear my thoughts on what went down last week, because remember, it was yours truly actually broke online the details as far as why he was arrested, specifics. Not proud that I got it, before everyone else, but, let's just say that I can't defend Teddy Hart anymore. I brought up, you could actually see on Friday, I think it's at the 8-minute mark of the show, I actually reposted the clip from Rolling Stone where they interviewed him, and Rolling Stone actually singled me out in their article from like 5 or 6 years ago that I just used to always constantly rip the shit out of this guy. I joked on Twitter the other day, I ripped on Teddy Hart before ripping on Teddy Hart was cool. You could go do searches on the archive shows. There are podcasts of me from 2004 ripping this guy. I ripped this guy for about 12, 13 years. Then the last couple of years, I thought he was really turning his life around. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I thought the relationship with her was a little bit extreme and odd, but, I still thought, then, maybe he really is, and no, can't defend him no more. So if you really want to see the whole rant, you could check out Friday's episode on YouTube, the charity episode. And by the way, I want to thank everybody who tuned in, and anybody that sent in contribution later on, I will shout everybody out on Friday. So,
it's funny. I don't think I've said 2 words about the whole Teddy Hart
Yeah,
thing.
it's too much.
Stayed out of it. I never liked him. I always thought he was a douche. And I'm never a fan. Even watching MLW, I kind of tuned him out. I only watched for Smith Jr. and for Brian Pillman Jr. when they were doing the Hart thing. But I just always thought he was a jerk. I never cared for him. I'm a huge Bret Hart fan, Owen Hart fan. Never cared for Teddy Hart. I barely said a word on it. I don't think there's anything on record of me saying anything. And then I just don't even like him. I mean, I follow what the Soup guys have said and what you've said. I've paid attention. My brother was really into the story and stuff, and you guys defending the girl and everything, which I thought was admirable, without a doubt. But I hate that he even gets any. All his publicity is negative anyway, so it's just like, oh, this fucking guy again. Just even hearing Teddy Hart, it's like hearing coronavirus. I just don't even want to hear that word anymore.
Yeah. Well, looking back on it, now I understand a little bit more why MLW let him go. And I will say Wednesday that, because I said on one of my early Wednesday Night Don-O-Mites, I didn't understand why they let him go. Now I understand a lot more. So they definitely made the right move last year. But so we had Aleister Black destroy Jason Cade in less than a minute. Then we had the, not so social distancing, a fan of social distancing and the 10-person rule. We had Kevin Owens, Montez Ford, who took a pretty stiff bump outside the ring, and Angelo Dawkins. They actually defeat Seth Rollins, Angel Garza, and Austin Theory. Talked about that Friday, that Andrade has injured ribs, will not be able to compete at WrestleMania. They decided to graduate Austin Theory to the main roster for now. Maybe it's a permanent thing, not sure yet. But, nice little tag team, Austin Theory and Angel Garza. There was one spot during the match where, I'm assuming that Montez Ford, when he dove outside the ring, that Austin Theory was supposed to catch him, but Austin Theory was not in position, and he just reminded me of old Chris Hamrick, who just flew outside the ring and would just go splat. So it looked like it hurt. It looked like it hurt.
Old reference. But, I remember the Chris Hamrick stuff. But, boy, they fast-tracking this kid, Austin Theory, who's a real superstar in the making, no doubt. 22 years old, real thoroughbred. This kid's got it, no doubt. But they really fast-tracked him. You think it's because of supply and demand at this point, DT? They need to do that with him right now because of people kind of dipping in and out and the uncertainty of the roster right now because of coronavirus.
They have to utilize who's willing to wrestle, who's in Orlando, who not just that, but who are pretty much. See, this is something I think a lot of people aren't thinking about, and I think AEW deserves more credit for this part of it. Even though, look, if I say WWE shouldn't be bigger, then neither should AEW. But what AEW has been doing, and it's kind of easier when you're, and I don't mean to sound like a dick right now, just saying in general, it's a lot easier when you have a blue check mark. Not saying that, all blue check marks do this. My point is that when you're a celebrity or you're a larger-than-life person, musician, athlete or something, you're usually not around normal folk as much as other people are. Do they go to Starbucks? Do they go here? Do they go? Absolutely. But the thing is that those guys right now, it's ring and home. Ring, hotel. Ring. Hotels are still open. My nephew, who was on the original bus when Slash ripped him off, and that's why I uppercutted him with cannolis at that time. My nephew at that time was like 6. He was supposed to get married this weekend. I was supposed to go to his marriage. Right. Yeah, I was supposed to go to his wedding on Saturday, but it's canceled.
They called it off?
Yeah, they had to because you're not allowed to have more than what? Not only 10 people,
10
but
people.
The reception won't. They're not allowed to work, but the hotel, the Hyatt, is still open. And I called them up to cancel my reservation, and they said, we're not giving out refunds, but we'll give you 10,000 points so you could use it on another room over the next year. So I'm like, what am I going to do? They're not giving refunds because they're still open. So if I wanted, I could go there Saturday and spend the night in a hotel. But
they're well, what's your nephew doing? Are they delaying it till the fall?
They're delaying it for a couple of months. They haven't announced another date yet because they don't even know when halls and restaurants are going to be open for business again. But it is what it is. But a lot of these wrestlers, it's the building and home. And if they're going to eat, they have it delivered, room service, deliver, whatever it is. But they're staying out of the general public. Not everybody is the same. And when it comes to Austin Theory, this is a guy that's in Orlando that is, pretty much building home. during the time, because a lot of this was recorded before Thursday. Need to point that out. So he's got a lot of talent. If anybody really wants to see what he can do, you could check out some NXT stuff. But if you really want to see what he can do, look at his work in Evolve. But he's got his size. I think it prevents him right now from, like people saying like he's going to be a major superstar tomorrow. I'm not shitting on Austin Theory, but I don't know what people are basing that on. Seriously, he's talented and he's got a look with him and this and that, but people need to take their time with some of these guys. But right now, they needed somebody local, reliable, who's keeping to themselves, and Austin Theory was a good fit for that.
Oh yeah, no, like I said, he's got all the check.
He's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, and he's in the area. It's true, but again, it's you don't see this too often of somebody fast tracked like that in a WrestleMania situation. But it's a very unique situation.
Yeah,
obviously.
After the match was over, Seth Rollins hit the curb stomp on Kevin Owens. Then we had Kevin Owens cutting this, again, and this was something I wanted to say earlier, but it's good I waited until now. If there was one really good thing about tonight and even last week, is that because they have so much time to fill, they're allowing these wrestlers to cut longer promos. Kevin Owens' promo, extremely long, but it was very well said. It was well done. For those earlier that were asking, like, what about Kevin Owens and his family? Shouldn't he be concerned? Well, if I understand correctly, doesn't Kevin Owens' family still live in Canada? And I don't believe you can travel into Canada right now unless it's trade or something else. So Kevin Owens might be forced to stay in the States right now. I'm not sure because I saw Kevin Owens posting pictures of his cats and some other stuff. So, I was under the impression that he was with his family, and who knows? Maybe his family is with him right now, and maybe it's building and home. We really don't know. I don't know if Kevin Owens still lives in Canada or not. But
no, he lives in Florida. No, DT lives in Florida.
So if he lives in Florida, his family, it's work and home. And home. So, Nick says they moved to Orlando last year. So, again, my mom, I saw her once last week, and I had to wear a mask and gloves because I'm just petrified that if she gets sick or my father gets sick, I can't live with my conscience wondering if I got them sick. I went to my doctor last Monday because I needed my sleep medicine renewed, and I had blood work done and everything like that. Now, they didn't test me for coronavirus, but there's things in your blood that could tell if you have something. So I'm good. And anybody I've been around in my office, I've wore mask and gloves too. So I'm not sick, but I'm still petrified to be around them. When people need to understand something, when you see essential employees are allowed to work in New York right now, my brother is considered an essential employee. My brother works for a delicatessen. So if there's podcasters right now, there's a podcast that works for my father that's listening right now. So working in grocery stores is you're still working. So they're not saying that, if you work right now, you can't go home to your family. So every essential worker, whether it's a nurse, a deli person, a banker, a post office person, an insurance guy like me or someone else, everybody still goes home to their family. So Kevin Owens going home to his family is no different than my brother going home to his family or some people listening that's still working going home to their family. The question is, who are your opponents around? And I think right now, we were talking about it on Friday with Stephanie's interview where, they're really cutting it so close. Definitely go check out what we talked about on Friday. she did an interview and she said that they take everybody's temperature when they enter the building. And that was something that we said 2 weeks ago on the show. But she said that anybody that is 100.4 or higher, they're not allowed in the building. So if you have a 100.1 fever, you're allowed in the building. So, and a doctor was interviewed too that said you don't have to have a fever and have coronavirus. You could have no symptoms for a week or two. So,
so tricky, man.
Yeah. Shout out to Anna, Don Tony's political advisor. Much love, Anna. And, big shout out to you. And also I wanted to shout out Oliver Norgrove. We were just talking about like old school wrestling because they were showing a lot of highlights from yesteryear. But, going back in the day, because Jake Roberts got a little bit of buzz last week because he was saying that Brett and Shawn Michaels weren't draws when they were champions. Back in the day, who do you think cut a better promo, Macho Man or Jake Roberts?
Jake Roberts cut a more methodical human being type promo. Macho Man was animated and out there. But the two different types of promos. Jake was more, like I said, direct and looking in your face and methodical is the best way to describe it. But Macho Man was being Macho Man, his antics, his animation, but intensity. But I would go with Jake Roberts for a more conducive promo. But Macho Man just was so into his character, you didn't believe he was any other way off camera.
I agree 100%. I mean, Macho Man was very entertaining, but Jake Roberts, like, when he screwed someone over, like, you believed it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Macho Man was intense and charismatic, and he would say some out there things, but Jake Roberts would just play. One time, in fact, I think this is on Patreon too. Myself and Mass Maniac interviewed Jake Roberts, and he was talking about, it was mental intercourse. He talked about it being like a form of intercourse, that you just fuck with somebody's mind. Like the way he described it, he compared it to sex. In fact, that is on Patreon right now. Jake Roberts, to me, it's two totally different styles, but Jake Roberts, man, even now, the two AEW promos that he did, not as good as yesteryear, but son of a bitch could still, when he talks, you believe it.
Yeah, no, it's like he's giving you this dressing down, or almost like in an intellect way, putting you in your place, or just kind of telling you what he's going to do to you. And you're like, geez, this guy just gave me chills. But Macho Man is giving you the wrestling stuff. He's giving you the professional wrestling deal, of a promo, spinning around and cup of coffee and throwing it in the air. He's doing his antics, but that's but it's great because it's right. But that's and going back to that time where 80% of the roster knew how to do a promo. Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, go up and down the line, Don Morocco, everyone could cut a promo in probably one take. Just today, it's almost like night and day with the roster of percentage of who can cut a promo, who has it, and who just doesn't.
Plus, and I don't mean to disrespect Macho Man, but Jake Roberts was so much more intellectual and smart with what he would say. Macho Man was more about self-worth, and when he would say some outrageous stuff, he was always talking about himself in the third person. The Macho Man, he just, Jake Roberts would, just tell stories and just so much more intellectually smart. You always felt that Jake Roberts' IQ was a much higher than Macho Man's, even though Macho Man was a very smart person. Not trying to belittle him.
Who, and also when you go into the NWA, who cut promos like Jake Roberts in the NWA? Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson would give you that, that verbal beatdown, almost like that. He's just going to put you in your place, and he's telling you what he's going to do to you without being overly animated. Now, if you want to go to over animation, you go to Ric Flair. You know what I'm saying? So everyone had their way of doing things, but Arn was methodical, the way he spoke and just the way he just looked into the camera. And then you got Ric Flair throwing his jacket up and dancing around. So everyone did their role so well. It's like, again, comparing it to today, it's night and day, completely.
Edge's promo tonight, talking about how, Adam Copeland is a junkie for Edge. Yeah. again, I said this early on, Randy Orton's early promos towards Edge and his family felt a little bit mirrored with AJ Styles about Undertaker and his family, even though, it was a little different, but, felt like it was going in the same path. And, just Edge really, like I said, the way that Edge is, look, we haven't seen him wrestle in a very long time. He had that little cup of coffee in Royal Rumble, but, they're going to have a street fight. They're going to brawl. There's probably going to be a concerto involved somewhere. But Edge's promo tonight, to me, I am very invested in Edge versus Randy Orton because of the history they have. It's that is the match that I'm looking forward to more than anything else.
That's another good one. Number one, I think 1 and 2 back to back. AJ Taker, Edge, and Randy Orton. And you look at the 4 of those guys, and what do you have there? AJ is actually Randy would be the least experienced. AJ is actually in the business longer than Randy. But they're all 20-plus year veterans, some 30 years, some 25 years. The 4 of them, that's what we're looking for, the 4 veterans to bring it home this Sunday, and they'll be the 2 matches we probably talk about the most, unless some of the youngsters on the card, when I say youngsters, those being the under 30, which is very few of them, are impressive, but it's the grizzled veterans that are going to be the focal point of this WrestleMania. You could say, Kevin, usually they are, which didn't used to be the way it is, but yeah, they always got to kind of lean on the veterans, but this Sunday more than ever, I think they're depending on those 2 matches to be the talk of the town. And you're right, DT Moore, think about it, take the no audience aspect out of it. It could be something to look forward to. Just forget that you just got to get your mind around that this is going to be a much different type of WrestleMania, but those 2 matches in itself are worth watching.
Yeah, and another thing too, over the years, you've had some people come back for a match, and you've had new school fans, especially new school, who would always be like, this person's coming back. They're taking away a spot from someone else. They tried to play into it with Cena's promo when, Bray Wyatt challenged him and all that, stepping aside. When you see sometimes people come back, it's an opportunity lost for someone else. And I think CM Punk was a little annoyed at one point of somebody coming, I don't know, it was The Rock or whoever it is, but you see Edge's return. And here's an example of why, somebody may come back, even if it's for just one match, but when you see what they do and you see what they say, you understand quickly that, there are other wrestlers who work their ass off, that wrestle 100 times a year, that are just, and, they feel that they're being slighted over someone who hasn't wrestled or might only wrestle once. They did it to Goldberg. They do it to others. But unfortunately, when that person comes back and they tear it up with the promos and they tear it up with, their work, I mean, you can't always have it. Well, that person works their ass off and that person's losing an opportunity over this person. Well, now you understand why Edge is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just see it. And he's not coming back simply for name value only, because that does happen over the years. But in this case, I really am looking forward to seeing what happens beyond WrestleMania. Look, if we found out 2 weeks from now that WWE was going to go on hiatus for 2 or 3 weeks and give a best of this and that, I'm perfectly fine with it. But, once everything does settle down and people can go back to work and this virus is not so much of a risk, I'm curious to see what Edge really, how they're going to use him. I mean, look, of course, this virus prevented some people from actually having matches, but I was just taking note of it the other day. I think since November, Becky Lynch, you know how many matches Becky Lynch has had in the last 6 months?
How many?
Under 10. I think she's only had 2 since January 1st. Like the first week, I think she only had 2. Maybe 3 tops. Yes, the virus, obviously, but you look at the overall scope as well. Some people have had a very small number of matches. So we'll see. We'll see. But Edge's promo tonight, spot on. Loved it. And did what it needed to do to get you to Saturday. And I think, again, their matches happen in Saturday. So I'm curious to see the format. But next we had Asuka beating Kaden Carter in a minute.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm Asuka is almost like the MVP of the women's division right now because you could see that she's in Florida. She's staying in Florida. She's at that building. Maybe she's sleeping in the building because she is like there every single week. She is the go-to for the women. I hope WWE keeps those tag belts on them.
Oh, I think so. I don't think they're gonna miss them.
You don't think they're gonna give it to a moment to piss?
I don't think so. I think they'll keep. Yeah, Asuka she is like the MVP. She's like the Ryan Sandberg of this team. She then did her antics again with her promo at the desk, not keeping the social distancing, which is again, she's funny. She looks like she's having a ball doing that too. It's so what she's become and what she was 2 years ago to now. Some people say, "Oh, this is what they do to this killer and this mysterious like female version of Great Muta," and they turned into this comedic, rambling, babbling loon. But I think it's fun. I mean, I do. I think it's fun. And she looks like she's having a good time doing it,
Mm-hmm. Want to shout out Quay Hopkins, Sugar Tweets, and Adam Tracy. Welcome to our Patreon page. Tomorrow, what is it? KNT Chronicles or Castle Chronicles?
No, tomorrow's Castle Chronicles at 8:15 p.m. New York time.
Okay, cool. So patreon.com/Don Tony if anybody wants to sign up. And we will see what happens later this week as far as the Mania lineup. Like I said, I'm going to wait till the end of the week to do predictions because, we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with the SmackDown tag titles and everything. I know a lot of people complain about the use of Asuka the last couple of months. Almost people think they turned her into a joke. I tell you, getting paid as well as Asuka does, to go out there and just laugh it up and be a little goofy and beat someone in a minute. Yeah, you get the occasional bullshit loss like she got against Alexa Bliss last week. But if you look at the overall for the last month or two, it's not like, she's losing months of, just in-ring ability and that's time lost. No, this is a little break from all the crazy physicality. Remember, she main evented that pay-per-view and, destroyed the fuck out of her body. Not as bad as Kairi Sane, but still. So you get a month or two, you get a little bit of a break and a little respite. I have no problem with it. Now, if she starts going on a major losing streak and shows nothing, that's different. But right now, doing what she's doing, no problem with it whatsoever. Especially that her English doesn't flow. The character, it doesn't flow. So she's got a lot more limitations than others because she can't cut a 3-4 minute English promo to get us invested. So she's got to do what she's doing right now, and she's doing it well. So I'm a big fan.
I agree.
So with that said, we next had the replay of Brock Lesnar versus Rey Mysterio from Survivor Series last year. Again, we don't need to get into that match. We covered it on the pay-per-view recap last year. That is one match that they went back on that I don't mind seeing again. That match I enjoyed. It was to set up the dominance of Brock Lesnar. And, we closed out tonight's show with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar in the ring. And, Paul Heyman's given a lot of props to Drew McIntyre, but at the end of the day, Drew McIntyre will be, just like everybody else, Brock's bitch.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what he did. That's pretty much what it was. I was expecting maybe Drew McIntyre to come out, but that didn't happen.
Look, I'm looking forward to that match again. If they were going to put the belt on Drew McIntyre, I'm hoping that is delayed. I'm hoping for a bullshit finish. This is not a no DQ match. We have enough matches that are going to be street fights that are no DQ. The Wyatt match, Edge. What's the other match that's escaping me? Right, Orton, Edge. Mm-hmm. The Undertaker, AJ Styles. So I would not. I know people would be disappointed, but I would not have a problem with Brock Lesnar getting disqualified right now. And this buys...
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Because this buys a month or two to build up, because I would rather see Drew McIntyre get the win in front of a live crowd,
of course,
get that pop. Just you win, he's going to stand on the top rope, and all we're going to hear is his music, and it's not going to be the same. It's not. No. See, like Shayna Baszler, if she wins the title, when a heel wins the title, we don't care as much as far as a crowd reaction, because Shayna Baszler, she's a heel. So fans are not going to pop when she wins the belt. Some Becky haters will. So if Shayna Baszler wins the belt and she's holding it in the air and there's no crowd there to react to it, it's not a big deal. But when it's a baby face or it's someone that your fans have really gotten behind, that's just so horrible to get that win in front of nobody. So as much as I don't like clusterfuck finishes, I'm hoping that match ends up in a clusterfuck finish. Something. Even if McIntyre ends up losing, something has to happen without the referee looking. And, either Drew gets pinned but was screwed over, or Brock Lesnar gets DQ'd, count out something, and this leads to the next pay-per-view.
So, DT, do you think that with that concept and what you're saying with babyface winning really means more to a crowd? Heel, I agree with you, winning a title, not as much. With that said, do you think that there won't be any title victories for any babyfaces? That'll be either DQs.
I'm not sure yet. I haven't really thought about, I think the Street Profits retain. I don't see guards. I mean, my thoughts may change between now and Friday. I haven't really stepped back and thought about it, but like a surprising win. Because see, you got to understand something. The Street Profits already have the belts.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like someone, no, but what I'm saying is
like a babyface winning a belt.
Right.
Drew McIntyre is the only one that comes to mind right now.
I would have Goldberg's said Roman Reigns, heel, even though he was kind of the heel against Reigns, don't you think?
Roman Reigns, I would have said too. Braun Strowman, Braun Strowman's a babyface right now. Maybe Strowman. I have to really just see what happens on TV Friday with Goldberg. Yeah. Because they did something, obviously, to write off Roman Reigns. I don't think Friday they just say Roman Reigns will not compete at a precaution, and Braun Strowman comes out and makes the challenge. I just hope they don't do something like that. There's got to be more to it, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
Joe, I'm not doing a live viewing because, number one, Saturday is my fiance's birthday, and it's bad enough that we didn't celebrate my birthday. I didn't mind, but I was here with everybody Friday night. We did 5 hours. That was my birthday. So I never celebrated my birthday with my fiance. She damn well wants me to celebrate it with her. So, I'm not going to sit in front of a camera for 3.5 hours Saturday, 3.5 hours Sunday, then do a recap. Crazy. As well. I don't even know what's going on this weekend yet, but
we'll do the recaps both nights, correct?
Yeah, I just I'm not sure what's going to happen with me on Saturday, but we'll see what happens on Friday. Friday, things will get answered and settled, and that's what I was talking about on Friday. People were so upset that WWE is still advertising Goldberg Roman Reigns even though last week's SmackDown, and I said there's another SmackDown that's got to air. They don't owe a statement. This is wrestling. It's entertainment. A storyline can play out on TV, which explains why Roman Reigns cannot compete. So I saw nothing wrong with WWE still advertising Roman Reigns, even though it was SmackDown this past week.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But that was pretty much Raw tonight. You know, again, this is the new norm. Get used to it. You know, if you really take a step back and think about it, some of the wrestlers cutting promos are not in Orlando. If you even want to include the tag match tonight, we got 14 minutes of Orlando wrestling. So when you think about WrestleMania, when it's a 7-hour show and it's about 4.5 hours of wrestling, tonight we got 14 minutes of wrestling. You think about 4.5 hours of wrestling. Think of how many Raw episodes you would record if you recorded 4.5 hours worth of wrestling. My point is that when you take a step back and you look at Raw tonight and the fact that there was only 14 minutes of Orlando matches, if they recorded 3 hours of Orlando matches that are not WrestleMania, that could extend to a month's worth of TV, as crazy as that sounds. You know, if they recorded 2 hours of post-WrestleMania matches for Raw, even if it's 2 hours, we had 14 minutes of wrestling today. You want to double that and say, wow, they gave us 30 minutes. 2 hours of recording of matches last week is enough of television for a month. And then by then we're into May. So I'm curious, again, I'm curious to see what happens 2 weeks from now. I think the night after WrestleMania might feel a little retro for you and I, because way back in the day, you know, when we didn't have Raw on Monday night or SmackDown, when we would see a pay-per-view back in the 80s and the early 90s, when we would watch Superstars or whatever the show that we got the following week, you know, it would be a lot of recaps, but we wouldn't even see the matches. We would see still frames, and Mean Gene Okerlund would just explain what happened, and maybe you had a promo here and there when Ric Flair won the Royal Rumble. You know, when we watched the following week on Superstars, we had a couple of squash matches. They would show still shots of all the matches that went down. That would eat up a third of the show.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah. So, any closing thoughts before we go?
No, actually, I'm glad we actually went probably longer than I even thought we were going to go when we started early tonight, but it's good for me. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And, yeah, as DT said, join Patreon/Don Tony so you can join us tomorrow live on Discord chat, 8:15 for Castle Chronicles. Get into Mania, coronavirus questions, all that stuff. So, join us tomorrow night.
And, yeah, definitely check it out, everybody. And then Wednesday, I'll be on for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Obviously, since we're now 2 weeks in for, no crowd shows, it's going to be a lot lighter. Wednesday, I'll get into the new TNT Championship and all that. Anybody that listens or watches the Wednesday show, that's something I've been wanting for months and months and months. And it's pretty weird because if anybody remembers last Wednesday, I said, I wish they would announce a secondary title and start a tournament 2 weeks from now to go against Ciampa and Gargano. It's right there from this past Wednesday. That's exactly what happened. So it's just coincidence, everyone. It's not, anybody listening. But all right, Kev, I'll catch you tomorrow for Castle Chronicles.
Yes, thanks, everybody. Everybody on YouTube, Discord, all you guys, thanks for the support. Everybody have a good night, and I'll catch you tomorrow, DT.
Yeah,
peace.
Take it easy. Later. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And that's pretty much it. Wednesday, if you're around, I'll probably start at 10:05 because NXT is already pre-recorded. A lot of AEW will be pre-recorded. So my guess is that these shows go off the air around 10:05. So I'll start about 10:05, maybe 10:10. And if you have any questions, the chat will be open on Wednesday. Friday, after Smackdown, I will be on YouTube for the Don Tony Show. We'll talk Smackdown, give WrestleMania predictions. Hopefully by Friday, I'll figure out what we're going to do about the Patreon contest. We're definitely going to do something, but it's going to be really difficult to pull it off. I want to keep it as simple as possible because of what's going on. Maybe we don't do confidence points this time around because you got to understand something. If spoilers come out, and somebody and I'll be quick with this. Let's say somebody predicts Strowman wins and they give it 16 points because confidence points, you go from 1 to 16 to 16 matches, all right? Now, let's say we find out the spoiler for that. Now, in the past, if I say, okay, everybody gets half their points, that person loses 8 points. If I just throw the match out entirely from the contest, that person loses 16 points. So I'm thinking if we don't use confidence points and you got 16 matches to predict, each one gets a point and the tiebreaker, if a spoiler comes out, everybody only loses 1 point. So that's probably going to be the way we do it. And look, that's if anybody wants to take part in it and is a patron, by all means, it is voluntary and prize wall is still up there. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, be prepared to give your entry fast because I'll put up the contest between 11 p.m. and midnight Friday. Remember, I'm going to be here doing the Don Tony Show, so I'm going to probably have to either post that on a timer or something. But you only have from midnight to around 4 p.m. the next day. So that's about 15 hours, give or take an hour. That should be more than enough time for you to get your entry in. But that's pretty much it. So Friday, if you want to do some Ask Me Anything. Oh, and by the way, I sissied out on Friday. The truth is that I was nervous that with my gallbladder out and the intestinal surgery that, God forbid I get really horrible pains. I don't want to get rushed to the hospital, especially with this coronavirus stuff going on here in New York. So I pussied out. Mish has talked me into doing the challenge. So I think maybe in 2 weeks, yours truly and Mish will do the one chip challenge on YouTube. And maybe we'll raise some money again. And if that goes off well, then we will do other things to cause us pain. So, all right, everybody, I'm starting to ramble. I'm out of here. If you noticed tonight, I think we had no technical issues whatsoever. I did change 2 cables last week. So Friday's show, everything seemed to go without a hitch. So knock on wood, we don't have any problems in the future. And I want to thank you as always for the support. Much appreciated. Again, the video is still very, very new to me. A lot of technical stuff I'm still trying to learn as far as software and features. Like I just figured out now that I could actually pause my video like that. Like that. So if I have to pick my nose or if I have to lay a good one, I could pause myself. I know some of you out there were wondering what was going on with Mish on Friday that kept going to black. I don't know if he vapes or anything like that. There was nothing illegal going on. Maybe he just had to reposition himself. It was stretch, and maybe he just, but there was no technical difficulties, and that was awesome, man. By the way, before everybody leaves, if you like tonight's show, please hit the like button on the way out. Again, I don't stress that enough. I know there's a lot of shows that every few minutes will tell you hit the like button, but it does give me a little bit more exposure over here. And it also will recommend this show to others out there that don't even know this show exists. So on the way out, if you could hit the like button, I would appreciate that very much. If you did not check out Friday's breakfast soup that is available for everyone, please do. We raised a nice amount of money for charity, and it was an awesome show. And I want to thank everybody who was involved with that as well, Patreon and the live chat. Absolutely awesome. I was all fucked up after that. I didn't go to sleep until about 6 o'clock in the morning. And me, because I'm on keto, every night I take sleeping pill and I take magnesium. And that helps me take a dump the next day. And I usually take a morning dump. And I know I'm revealing too much right now, but I didn't go to sleep till about 6 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up at 12. And by 12, it's just my whole body was out of whack. So I don't even think I blew up my bathroom until maybe like 7, 8 o'clock Saturday night. But we had a ball. I got to thank Mish so much for, you got to understand something, man. He is not just doing wrestling soup. He does Frank and Gus on Patreon, which everybody loves. He's involved with other shows out there. He's always helping other podcasts you may have never even heard of before. He's involved in a lot of different shows, and he is working behind the scenes. So it's exhausting enough. And then Friday, to spend 5 hours with me on YouTube, just appreciated that. More than you know. So, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Tune in Wednesday for Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite. And on behalf of Kev Castle, I am Don Tony. Good night, everybody. A little pocket pool after you hitting the last channel button 50 times for 2 hours plus.
Don-O-Mite.
And his whole idea of overanalyzing, oh, he's an alcoholic, and he misplaced the belt. All right, I'm back. Premature ejaculation over here, everybody. I fucked up, and I apologize to Kev. I shouldn't have disconnected with him right away. But then again, he might have been very, very bored with this. I forgot to give you what is going to be on the network later this week, because every day they got shit lined up. So here you go. If everybody wants to check that out. On the WWE Network right now, they have a special. It's Edge's Best WrestleMania Matches. Tuesday, March 31st, as you can see, they have a Broken Skull Sessions Uncensored, which will be on the network. 15 greatest WrestleMania title matches over the last 15 years. Shawn Michaels' best WrestleMania matches. Then on Wednesday, we have Triple H's best WrestleMania matches. Charlotte Flair's 8 most memorable matches. We have WWE's The Bump. That's going to start, I'm assuming, live Wednesday, April 1st at 10 a.m. Then on Thursday, April 2nd, we have Stone Cold's best WrestleMania matches, best of WrestleMania Theater, WWE NXT UK, This Week in the WWE. Where are they now? Eva Marie and Snitsky. I'm surprised that so many people were not aware of what Snitsky looks like now. He looks fine. He just got a longer beard, but he's been featured a little bit before. Eva Marie, with all due respect, she hasn't been gone that long, but hey, they did it. Why not? Whatever. WWE Dream Match Mania, that's going to be streaming Thursday at 1 p.m., and then you have NXT, obviously. Then on Friday, April 3rd, we have The Undertaker's WrestleMania streak, the best WrestleMania ladder matches of all time, WWE Untold, HBK versus Kurt Angle. That sounds interesting. 205 Live, streaming Friday at 10 p.m., which would be right after Smackdown. Then we have Saturday, April 4th, WWE Chronicle, Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton's best WrestleMania matches. We have The Bump, airing once again at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday the 4th. The WrestleMania Kickoff Show, Part 1, streams at 6 p.m. WrestleMania Day 1. They call it Part 1. I like to call it Day 1. So you have the kickoff show at 6 p.m. on Saturday night, and then WrestleMania 36 Day 1 starts at 7 p.m. Saturday night. Word has been going around that WrestleMania Saturday will be 3 hours and 15 minutes. Sunday will be between 3 hours and 3 hours and 15 minutes. Honestly, I would not stick to that as, exact fact, because things can be manipulated. And I think people right now are probably using guesstimates more than anything else. But finally, on Sunday, April 5th, you have WWE 24 Edge, which sounds definitely interesting, because this chronicles Edge's return at the Royal Rumble leading up to now. We have The Bump airing once again at 1 p.m. Sunday afternoon. Then the WrestleMania kickoff show for Day 2. That starts at 6 p.m. Eastern. And Part 2, Day 2 of WrestleMania 36 starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. So that is your WWE Network WrestleMania lineup. Look, I think definitely something to look forward to. I think it's going to be a pretty damn good WrestleMania. It's not going to be as good as what we've had in the past, obviously, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I know, because of the crowds, because of the spectacle, because of, the everything about WrestleMania, it's not going to feel the same. It's not going to look the same. But at the end of the day, if we have 4, 5, 6 pretty decent matches, isn't it better to have them than have nothing at all? That's how I look at it. Cena, he may not be available a couple of months from now. We all thought, have WrestleMania in the summertime, SummerSlam, be WrestleMania. How do you delay storylines? If you're going to continue TV, you got to continue the storyline. So I don't have too much of a problem with it. I'm more of the aspect of, there's a lot of other entertainers out there that cannot do what they want to do, and because they know that they're not bigger than what's going on. They're not bigger than the virus. You have to respect the virus. You have to respect its seriousness. And again, I think that is the reason why we don't see WWE putting all these PSAs during their shows, because they look like hypocrites. So, but anyway, everyone, I'm out of here. Be well. And I will catch you all again Wednesday for Wednesday Night Dynamite. Ciao, everybody.